Honey, have I ever made your womanhood reach peaks that would rival the Himalayas?
Are you really going there again?
Hey, do you wanna see that movie? Do you wanna see that movie? Do you wanna see that movie?
Showtime. Welcome to Hey, did you ever see that movie? I'm your host, Des, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely co host, Lynn.
In Hong Kong, you'd be dead.
And joining us again, the podcaster with a fully packed bong.
And a hot cup of coffee, lad.
Pat. This week, we will be reviewing the 1998 action comedy Lethal Weapon 4, directed by Richard Donner, written by Channing Gibson, starring Mel Gibson, Danny Glover, and Chris Rock. As always, this podcast will contain spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it. Then come back and listen to the podcast. And now, it's time for another episode of Disaster Piece Theater. So sit back and enjoy the show. Welcome to Disaster Piece Theater, where me and my two co-hosts will act out one scene from the movie that we are reviewing for you this evening. So please, sit back, grab some popcorn, and enjoy the show.
Quiet on the set.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
Nice and conspicuous vehicle you got there, Leo.
Yeah, hey, Riggs. Who's the perp in the back seat? What you bustin' for, laddie?
Oh, I'm a perp. A penitent fool thinks a young black man in the back of a police car is automatically assumed he's a perp. You think I'm a perp? Look at my suit. Look at my tie. Look at my gold chains. What do I look like, Crips Counting? Look at the badge, fool. Look at my gun, fool. Check out my gold chains. Yeah.
Okay. Put the gun down, laddie.
License, registration, yard sample. I predict pain.
Hey, I got a badge too. Irish Jews didn't have it any easier during the great Lucky Charms famine of 1883. So don't think you're the only one, laddie buck, okay? Maybe we work together sometimes. I'm the bomb. Ask these guys.
Yeah, we're gonna work together as soon as I open up a cereal shop, you fucking leprechaun.
Cut!
Okay. And now it's time for Dez's 4-in-1 fun and one fake fact, where it will be up to my two co-hosts to figure out which fact is total bullshit. Fact number 1. Murtaugh's boat is named Code 7, which is the LAPD radio code for a lunch break. Fact number 2. Richard Donner asked Jet Li to slow down during action sequences because he was moving faster than the camera shutter speed and it wasn't registering on film. Fact number 3. Chris Tucker was Richard Donner's first choice for Butters, but he turned the role down to do the role for the 1998 movie Rush Hour. Number 4. Jackie Chan was considered for the role of Hua Sing Koo, but turned it down because he chose never to play a villain in a movie. And number 5. Despite Butters and Rian being married with a baby on the way, they never say one word to each other out loud. That's because their characters were not originally written as the script couple because of the many rewrites of the script. Butters was turned from a gay detective into Rian's husband. I hope that wasn't too confusing.
That was incredibly confusing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And let me give you number 3 again. Chris Tucker was Richard Donner's first choice for Butters, but he turned the role down to do the 1998 movie Rush Hour. Okay. So I hope that was all clear. So,
It was
Pat,
the first time.
what do you think is the fake fact?
I'm pretty sure it's the fifth one. Number 5.
Okay. And Dylan, which fact do you think is fake?
This is a tough one because I think that I think it's there's quite a bit going on here. I'm gonna say the Jackie Chan one, just simply because Jackie Chan seems like such a nice guy. I can't imagine anyone would want to put him in the role of a villain.
Okay. So you're both wrong. The three.
Wow.
Yes. Jackie Chan was asked to be in the movie, but he did not want to play a villain and has never played a villain in a movie.
Yeah.
And Butters was supposed to be a single gay detective in this. The ending of this movie was not actually written during shooting. And that is why him and Rianne never say one word to each other on screen. The fake fact was Chris Tucker was never asked for the role. So there you go. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Once
You would
again,
think
I
it would
have.
be, considering it's pretty much this could be Chris Tucker and as Butters makes total sense. So
Yeah,
They're both very funny.
yes.
they are, but I think that Butters really worked for this. I think Chris Tucker would have been a little bit too masculine and opposing to be this character, you
Right.
know.
Right.
So let's run this down. Butters names in the movie. We have Buckles, biscuits, boogers, putter, burgers, bagels, and breadsticks.
And Bissell.
And
Bis-
Bissell.
Bissell. And I
Wait.
think let me think.
I
Let me
think he
see
gets
my
called Butler at some point too.
Oh yeah,
Butler.
Butler for sure. What do you have? Alzheimer's?
I'm trying to remember I mean, I lost track of how many different names. I mean, I don't think they got his name right until the very end of the movie. It was always a different name.
Right. Okay. So let's do the box office. With a budget of $140 million and a box office gross of $285 million, this was a smash hit. Great movie. This one had a way bigger budget than the other ones, and I think you really see it on the screen. It's a really nice looking movie. Uh, Quality actors, quality acting. I mean, I'm going to give it away here. I'm going to be gushing on this one because I'm a fan of the franchise,
Oh yeah.
and I know this is going to be an unpopular, probably unpopular with the listeners, but I think this is my favorite Lethal Weapon movie. I love this movie. It's got the laughs in the right spots. It's got the heart pull in the right spots. They do a great job of balancing drama and comedy. You care about these characters. You care about the Chinese family. You care about, I mean, at the end, we're going to get a speech from Leo that's going to like really pull at my heartstrings. It's a great movie. It just is.
So I tend to agree with you. You and I have had this conversation before. How the first one, like most stories in a seat that have 2 or 3 installments, the first one always is the character builder.
Yes.
They give you all the characters, everything about them, and this one, as you've said in the past, is very dark. Riggs is suicidal. He's ready to go out in a blaze of glory. Roger's got a young family. He's just been connected with a psychotic partner.
Mhm.
The second one wasn't bad, but I didn't like the racial tones to it.
Mhm.
The third one was pretty good, but there were too many things about it that I didn't like the fact that they had the bullets that could go through Kevlar, and these things are available on the street, and how easily they were available. So,
But the funny thing was, the only Kevlar they couldn't go through was Riggs's girlfriend's.
she had 2 vests on.
It doesn't matter. It went through a fucking dump truck's loader pail in and out the other
Yeah,
side.
yeah, exactly. But
yeah, but if you're
again,
talking about a Lethal Weapon movie, you can't be
it's
asking yourself
yeah.
to
And
like not suspend your belief a little bit.
Well, and in that movie, we also see that it goes through a cop's front Kevlar, through his body, out the back Kevlar, and keeps on going. So you're telling me it can go through 2 sheets of Kevlar.
Yeah, exactly. But then again, like we've said in the past, if the scenes aren't written a certain way, then you're not going to get the next scene.
But what I had said to Delin was, this is almost like fantasy action. And I'm fine with that. I
Oh
want
no.
this.
Oh,
Yeah.
I agree totally.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get scenes in here that are, like driving a Grand Am through a building and landing it on the highway. This is fantasy, but I'm totally fine with it. I
Never mind the fact that if you look at the highway, the highway ends at the side of the building. How the hell does that engineering design even come up? Yeah,
it
we're
does.
just gonna have it. We'll just make like a tunnel through the building. Yeah. That'll work. That'll work.
So, fun fact, I actually owned that exact car. I mean, not the one from the movie, but I had that year and that model and that color Grand Am. So, yeah, when I saw that, I was like, oh, I used to own that car. Interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right. So, let's get into it.
Okay,
All right. Would you like a synopsis?
please.
Sure.
All right. Detective Riggs tries to settle down with his pregnant girlfriend Lorna, while his partner Murtaugh comes to grips with the marriage of his pregnant daughter Rianne to fellow cop butters. But they find themselves and their families targeted by Chinese mobsters led by Wa Sing Ku. Riggs, Murtaugh, Butters, and a private eye named Getz decide to go on the offensive before the gangsters get to their loved ones.
Well, how sweet.
I don't know about sweet. What the hell did you hear?
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
All
God.
right. Any other thoughts before we move ahead?
No, let's do it.
All right.
Just keep in mind, as the listeners are listening to this podcast, there is going to be a lot of references to the first three movies.
Yeah, there has
Well,
to be.
I mean,
There has
yeah,
to
I mean, here's the thing. We choose to do this one because it's probably, I mean, 4 and 1 are the two best of the series.
Yes.
And this one is a little bit more comedic than the first one. The first one's, like you said, very dark. Not a ton of laughs, even though there are some laughs.
Oh, there are,
You know,
but
it's
nothing
more-
like this one.
Yeah, this is
No.
different. This is way lighter and just an easier watch
Well,
all around.
I think as I'm thinking about it, I think one of the reasons I like this one the best is you already know the characters, and anybody who's seen the fourth movie has most likely seen the first three. And
Or at
in the
least one
fourth,
of them.
exactly. And in the fourth one, it is lighter. It is like more lighthearted. There's no real pain that they're dealing with other than they're getting old.
Right.
And one of them accepted it a long time ago, and the other one is only now coming to realize it.
The parallel between this, and I've said this on the podcast before, between this and Beverly Hills Cop 1 is shocking because, I mean, I'm talking between 1 and 4 and 1 and 3. Would it be 3 for Beverly Hills Cop? That's Wily World, right? Or Wonder World.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Beverly Hills Cop 1 and Lethal Weapon 1 are almost the same movie. I mean, they're very
Yes,
dark.
yes. We've talked like this before.
And then Beverly Hills Cop 3 and Lethal Weapon 4 are almost the same movie. They're like they're so far from the first one. They're comedies. These are flat out comedies, and I loved both of them very,
Well, I
very
liked
much.
it, and that's the way it evolved because in the first one, Riggs again is suicidal, and Roger basically talks him off the edge
Right.
through the entire movie, and now he's become part of their family. And in the second one, the characters just evolve to a point where they're at in the fourth one, where there is the darkness of the first one isn't even relevant anymore.
Oh, I know. Riggs is a different character by the fourth one. He's not even the same character. He's a jokester.
Even the haircut
Yeah, he's a
shows you right
jokester.
in the beginning he's not the same guy.
I like this character. I like this version of Riggs. He's a prankster. He's a jokester. He's funny. It's a really fun ride for me. I really enjoyed this version of Lethal Weapon.
Oh, the scene that comes up with the opening of the movie, the photo of Murtaugh in his underwear,
Yeah.
and how angry he's getting because he keeps finding them, only to find that Riggs is the bastard that's
Well, let's wait till
yeah.
we get there. So
Yeah,
go ahead,
we're
start
jumping
us
too
off,
far ahead.
Lynn.
Sorry.
All right, that's okay. In this installment of the Lethal Weapon series, Lorna Cole, played by Renee Russo, is pregnant with Martin Riggs' baby. Riggs is being portrayed once again by Mel Gibson. They're not married, but both are thinking about it and have both misgivings and fears. Meanwhile, Roger Murtaugh, played by Danny Glover, is dealing with his daughter Rianne, also being pregnant, and she is also secretly married Lee Butters, a young cop who works at the same precinct as Murtaugh and Riggs. She can't tell Murtaugh since he forbid her from dating cops, let alone marrying one. But Butters has been doing all kinds of things for Murtaugh around the police station, getting him muffins, offering him blankets, which Murtaugh incorrectly suspects is due to some kind of homosexual attraction to him, when in reality, Butters is actually trying to butter up his father-in-law. Now, the opening scene is mostly unrelated, but still fun. Riggs and Murtaugh confront a man wearing a flame-retardant armored suit and wielding an automatic firearm and a flamethrower. The unidentified man is destroying cars and shops along a city street. Aside from some comedic value and a reminder to the audience of Riggs's marksmanship skills, the scene mainly serves to show the two partners informing each other of both Lorna and Rianne's pregnancies. After this scene, the title card shifts to the story to almost 9 months later. So, Pat, despite this opening scene not having any bearing on the rest of the story, it does offer up the comedy with Raj in his boxer shorts, and
Oh,
then 9 months later with people still roasting him about it.
oh yeah, it's great how they Martin actually convinced him to take his clothes off because he needs a distraction to make the guy turn. And
Yep.
as I'm watching this and I'm laughing to myself, Roger is so convinced that this is a good idea. He's not even thinking it's a distraction. It's all it is. It's a distraction. He would be able to run from behind that car fully dressed
Mhm.
and still be a distraction. But
Absolutely.
Riggs manages to get him to do it in his underwear. That
No,
was
but I think the fact that he's in those little heart underwear actually makes this bad guy pause for a second, like, what am I looking at? Like, had he just run out in his street clothes, maybe the guy would have fired on quicker, pulled the, the napalm on him quicker. So I liked it. I thought it was great. I love when they're going at him and he's saying, let's run him over. We'll creep up on him.
oh,
And Willem not to turn.
will
Come
it?
on, Willem, don't turn, don't turn.
Don't
He's
turn around.
turning.
Don't
He's
turn
turning.
around. Don't turn around.
Now, the willing thing comes back at the very end of the movie.
It does. And there's lots of payoffs in this. We're gonna
Yep.
see lots of things pay off in this.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
there's callbacks to Willet. I think twice after this.
I love the Lethal Weapon 4 logo when it comes up and it's in fire. It's great. Um, and when Riggs finally shoots the napalm petcock, and
Val.
the guy shoots and goes into the tanker and it explodes. This is a really good looking explosion.
Oh, absolutely, but it is
I think
so
most of the
Hollywood
yeah, I think most of the $140 million went into this
went into
explosion,
that.
honestly.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you think about it, this is strictly a Hollywood explosion.
Mhm.
Because if that flaming jetpack went underneath that tanker isn't going to, I mean, the explosion was directed straight down.
Yeah.
So that thing went up into the air. It had to for the scene.
Yeah.
But there's no way in hell I mean, that thing is going to explode like a grenade.
Oh yeah.
The
And
entire thing is going to explode in multiple directions. It's not going to lift off like a rocket.
you
But
notice the tires fold in almost like the DeLorean in Back to the
yes,
Future when it lifts
yes,
up.
yes. It was awesome. But for the scene, it was great. That thing
Yeah.
went launching into the air, and they had to run from it because it was coming back down and landing
Yeah.
on their car.
And I love when Riggs said, what's his name? Fucking Murtaugh
Murtaugh.
says to Riggs, "Is he black?" He says, "I don't know. I can't tell through the helmet." He goes, "No, the baby." Yeah, that was really funny. Some great lines here.
Absolutely. So one night, Murtaugh, Riggs, and Leo Getz, played by Joe Pesci, are night fishing on Murtaugh's boat, the Code 7. They're sideswiped by a large cargo boat, and hearing shots fired, they give chase. The boat runs aground, several crew members run away, and the Coast Guard arrives, finding many Chinese immigrants inside the cargo hold. Murtaugh finds a family hiding in a dinghy, and after hearing how bleak their future is from an INS agent, decides to take him to his house, believing he's helping to free slaves. And, Des, Raj is aware of how illegal what he is doing, but morally, I kind of can't blame him.
Yeah. So I have a couple questions. Why are they out fishing with Leo? Why are they inviting Leo along? Like, up to this point, really, Leo's not really like one of their friends. Like, he's worked on a couple of cases with them. They make it clear all the time they don't really like him. And I just wasn't sure why he was there. I mean, it works for the movie 100%.
Oh yeah.
But it just doesn't seem like they would be like, going out fishing for the night and be like, "Hey, let's call Leo, that guy that annoys the fuck out of us.
Yeah,
Right.
maybe it was more like one of those things like he just showed up and he was like, "Oh, you going fishing? I'm coming with you." Okay, okay.
Well, it's funny because as I'm watching this scene, it's reminding me of another movie that came out long after this. So Danny Glover and Joe Pesci got together for a movie called Gone Fishing. And it's about these two guys. They're basically like Dumb and Dumber. They're just
Mhm.
completely like the biggest losers. And yeah, I mean, they get this little fishing boat, and yeah, it's a whole thing. So if you get a chance, you want to watch it. It's interesting to see these two team up again in a weird movie like that. Um, and how didn't they hear this giant tanker coming up on them?
Oh, absolutely. I wondered the same thing. But I also thought to myself, I mean, the first time I saw this, I don't know, maybe I'm the only one that thought of it, but the first time I saw this movie and I see them fishing on the boat, all I could think to myself is, where the fuck did he get the money for a boat? He's a cop. That's
Right.
an expensive fishing boat. And
Right.
only to find out later how it happened, which is actually a funny on its own. But when all of a sudden that tanker shows up, I mean, how it was that loud next to them? They
I
couldn't hear
mean,
that thing creeping up on
Was it I don't remember. Is it
them?
like foggy
No,
or is it
no.
no,
clear?
it was
Yeah,
clear.
you would think that they would have at least seen it, even if they didn't hear it. If it was running like silent, you'd think they'd at least see
Yeah,
this
I
gigantic
don't think
ship coming towards them.
I don't think old tankers like that have like a stealth mode.
True,
You know what I
Listen.
mean?
true.
You're gonna hear that friggin' thing coming up on you.
And
They'd be
and
chugging.
I think while you're using the word stealth, this isn't exactly like a nice fucking smuggling ship, like a nice
Well, that's what I
inconspicuous
mean.
smuggling ship.
It's a rusty tanker.
It's
Yeah.
a fucking warship. um
Also, but
so
let's hear it for the shark.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Uh
well, the fact that they're trying to get the shark to eat Leo,
how did they get the shark
pushing Leo in front of it.
how'd they get the shark on the deck? I mean, it was
Leo
weird.
caught it fishing.
Yeah, and how did they pull that fucking 300-pound shark up onto the deck?
They probably thought it was a tuna or something and pulled it up, and then they were like, "That's a effing shark."
Yeah, it was fun. I liked that. I like they chuck his gun in the ocean, and the shark is snapping, and it's fun. You get some great lines between Leo and why don't you just say that, Raj?
Roger.
Yeah, some
Oh,
good
it's
stuff.
great. He
Um,
goes off.
AFT.
He
Yeah.
goes off on a rant. What did every time somebody gets a boat, everything becomes nautical. Pump your bilge, be a bilge pump, and it's,
You landlubber.
oh my god! And he just went totally ape shit because he didn't know what starboard aft meant.
Oh my
So
god.
Riggs goes nuts here. They don't even really know what's going on with this tanker, except that it's gotten close to their boat, and he's ready to just start murdering people, like Riggs does. So he gets
No,
up, and
no,
I
they
had a
hear shots fired as it drives by them. They
Oh
hear
yeah,
shots fired. That's why
this
they
could
absolutely.
have
even
been
engage.
this could have been fireworks. I mean, it could have been anything. I don't
No,
think
but
there's
then
enough.
okay, wait a second, wait a second. They're pulling up behind the boat, and as they're pulling up behind the boat, they're like, "Hey, LAPD," and they start shooting at them. Like the Chinese boat shoots at them
Well,
first.
they
Reese
heard
doesn't just start killing people.
right. No, they started shooting him because they heard over the radio that they had just called the police.
Yes.
So
That
as
the
soon
Coast
as they
Guard was on the
realized
way.
they were spotted, they opened fire. And of course,
Okay.
Riggs, still the marksman, he kills the two guys,
And takes
puts
out the light.
and shoots out the light after putting multiple holes in the fuel cans. And now we have the largest bottle rocket in history going
Awesome.
off the tanker. That was awesome.
So I did have a question. So Riggs gets up on the boat, and he's got his laser
Laser
handgun.
sight. Yeah.
And
Well,
I love the scene where the guy's hiding behind the thing, and he, shines the laser, it ricochets off and is pointing on the guy's back.
Okay.
I didn't see a mirror, did you?
Okay.
that's
I'm glad you say that because I
yeah, of
said the
course
same
it.
thing to myself. I mean, I know a little something about laser sights, but I do know that they do not reflect off of things that are not shiny.
It would
So
need a
there's
mirror.
no way he's getting that shot off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then even if the laser was shining like that, the bullet would hit the piece of steel and flatten out, and it wouldn't follow the trajectory of that laser.
I
Yeah,
have
but
to, well, I don't know. I got to interject here because it would depend on what he's packing.
yeah, it doesn't.
If it's a full metal jacket, then it could easily ricochet off that steel.
Oh, it would ricochet. I just don't think it would follow the laser perfectly. But again, this is fantasy action, and
Exactly.
I
Oh,
loved
it's a
this
great
scene.
scene. It's a
I
great
loved it.
scene regardless.
I had zero problem with it. So we also get in this scene the captain of the boat. And we're going to see that this guy is a very capable martial artist because he handles rigs no problem.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
yeah.
gets away. So this is gonna again. This is another this thing. This there's lots of good payoffs on this. Everything feels like for a movie that wasn't completely written while they were filming it. A lot of these things come back and play back very nicely. So they're setting up this captain as being a capable martial artist, and this is going to come back later in the movie to prove how good Jet Li is.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh,
You
I think
know?
that's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
This guy could takes Riggs out easily. And again, this is one of the things that Riggs, when this happens, he starts to think about how old he's getting. Because you don't in the three previous movies, you didn't see him lose a fight.
Right.
Even in the
Well,
second one, when he had a blade stuck through his leg, he still kicked that South African guy's ass.
now how old is Riggs supposed to be the character in the movie?
I'm not sure I wondered the same thing because I don't think we actually ever heard how old he really is.
Well, it's funny because when I was watching it and they're in the locker room after the boxing match, I'm thinking to myself, man, like he looks like he's probably like in his early 50s.
No,
Do
I
you know?
thought earlier. I think like 40s. That was my
So
first thought, was like mid 40s.
they're talking like they're in their mid 50s, though, like they're done, they're out of gas, they're out of juice. And
He's 38 in Lethal Weapon 4.
okay, so
Even
Mel
though Mel
Gibson,
Gibson was 30.
no, Mel Gibson was 40 during the filming of this.
Yeah, but
Um,
how old would the character
yeah, so
supposed to
Mel
be?
Gibson was 40 and his character was 38.
Okay.
But
But
that's
still,
not old.
no,
That's
but
not
still, think
old.
about it though. 38. He's been doing this for 15, more than 10 years.
Yeah.
And if his career has been as psychotic as it has been through the 4 installments of this series, that's a lot of mileage.
Well, and he was a special forces soldier in Vietnam.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was
Okay,
when
wait a
he
second.
was
I
in his
take it back. 38 in Lethal Weapon, the first one.
The first one,
It-
he was 38.
Yeah.
Riggs.
And yes, but Mel Gibson was 30 and he was playing a 38-year-old, where Danny Glover was 40 and he was playing a 50-year-old. So that was in the first movie. So you got to think that you got to add at least what, 10 to 15 years on?
Well, yeah, you can gauge that by his children,
Yeah.
Roger's kids.
So that's what I was saying. So he was probably playing late 40s to early 50s. Late
Yeah.
40s.
Yeah.
I'd
Late
say,
40s.
yeah, mid to late 40s was what I guessed Riggs was in this movie. In this
But I
installment.
didn't think that Mel Gibson looked 40 years old. I thought he looked much older than 40. I was surprised when I Googled him. Like, he was 40? I'm like, wow.
I
That's a
think you
rough
know what
40.
it might have been. I think it might have been the change of his hair, because in the first 3 movies he had that huge head of hair,
He
and
did.
he looked very young.
It was a glorious mullet.
It was.
It was I mean, I'm not much to be a critic about hair, because God knows mine is horrid. But that his head of hair in all 3 of those movies was like perfect.
Oh God, I love it. It was. It was. It was fantastic.
It was better than White's.
It was not better than White's, but it
Oh,
was
yes,
good.
it was. Yes, it was.
Yeah, it wasn't as good as Rambo, the first podcast we ever did.
Oh, that
Sylvester
head of hair
Stallone.
was incredible.
Oh, it was incredible. It was so good. All right,
That's
so
no
let's
que-
keep going.
Yeah,
Take us
we're
to the
getting
next
stuck
scene.
with hair, and that's just a bad way to go. Let's get off that road.
All right. So Raj, Riggs, and Butters go to see Uncle Benny, played by Kim Chan. If there's something illegal happening in Chinatown, he's the one that knows all about it. Despite not getting much information, they do meet a high-ranking triad negotiator named Hua Sing Ku, played by Jet Li. He is organizing the release from prison of 4 overlords of the triads called the Four Fathers from a corrupt Chinese general, one of them being his older brother. Problem is, he doesn't have the money, so the decision is made to counterfeit the money to get the Four Fathers and trick the general. The captive artist working on the master plate to create the fake money is the elder uncle to Hong, the father of the Chinese family Murtaugh has rescued. as they're leaving Benny's restaurant, they also see the captain from the cargo ship, and there's a chase scene, though Riggs is unable to keep up. So, Pat, this is a great chase scene. It's got the action and it's got the comedy. When Butters arrests the poor waiter and he asks him what the special is, that's hilarious.
Oh, that's so fun. What day is it?
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Sweet sour pork, shrimp fried rice. And they just cut him off immediately, pissed off that he's not who they thought he was.
Yeah, and
And
honestly, like some of Chris Rock's they put a bunch of Chris Rock stand up into this movie,
oh,
obviously,
no
because
question. No
they
question.
were, struggling with a little bit of the script, and some of it falls flat when you watch it now. But this thing here with the arrest, super funny.
Well, even
Call
go
Johnny
back.
Cochran, I'll kill you.
Oh God, yes. Go back to the scene. Maybe it hasn't come up. I'm not sure. He's sitting in the back seat, and Roger asks him that he kind of took the scene at the
Oh, the thing
ship
about the
crash.
floor.
He took it rather personally, and thought he was like, there was something going on. And he explains that it wasn't the scene; it was he was remembering the floor he grew up in
Yeah, and
because
that's
of the
definitely from his
neighborhood.
stand up.
Oh, that was straight out of his stand-up. There's no question, because he just went, and even Danny Glover's laughing at the end of at the rant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got a few of these scenes out of him with the telephone. We're going to get a few of those.
Oh, that
Mhm.
telephone scene with Leo, him and Leo bonding. I made note of that. Him and Leo actually start bonding over how much they hate cell phones.
Yeah.
And
So
and with Leo, it was they fuck you with the drive-through, then they fuck you with the cell phones, and he's totally convinced everybody's fucking him for everything.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
tele-
Leo is 100%. They do fuck you at the drive-through.
yeah, telephone tough guy. There's some great lines there.
Oh, telephone tough guy, and he's talking into the phone, standing right next to him in the room.
Yeah. Will you shut the fuck up? It was
Oh,
fucking
man.
great sign. So
Investigate my privates.
we missed the scene where Roger sees the newspaper clipping of himself.
Yeah.
And it turns out that it's Riggs that keeps taping this thing up there over and over and over again.
Mhm.
And I
With
thought
the
this
help
was,
of everybody else. Everyone is in on this joke.
yeah,
Oh,
it was
it's
charming.
it's what's funny is that he's so serious when Roger is listening that it needs to stop. We can't be doing this, only to find out that he's the one that keeps hanging them up. And he
Oh, yeah.
doesn't do it just once in that scene. He does it twice.
At least, and they also show that they've got backup copies of this because
Oh, absolutely.
yeah. So this has been going on for a year. He continues doing this, and it's really great.
It is.
This-
Go ahead.
yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm stepping on
it's
your toes.
it's just great. It's just Mel Gibson, his acting in this. I was pointing this out to Delin. His facial expressions through this are really, really good. He's saying
Yes.
a lot with his
Yes.
eyes. He's saying a lot with his facial expressions. He's got some really, really good comedic timing in this, like that you don't expect from him. But like, you'll see him in a movie now like Daddy's Home too. And you're really seeing this same character almost play out. It's really good. So yeah, I was impressed with Mel Gibson in this big
Oh,
time.
just look at the facial expressions when they're back on the fishing boat, and
Mhm.
him and Roger are talking about how Lorna's about to have a baby, and they're
Yeah.
not married, and the whole subject of them getting married or not getting married, you can see it in his face.
Yep.
There's like a lot of confusion, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of uncertainty, and he's not quite sure what the hell's going to happen or why.
And
And I agree with you. His facial expressions were far more expressive than any other part of this franchise.
it's funny because they write these characters very silly, and this script in this movie is very silly, but it's also very heartfelt in spots. And I thought the director did a great job of bringing us to a melancholy kind of feeling with some of the exposition, and then like being mindful that this is a fun movie and we don't want to feel like that for too long, and immediately giving us like a little saxophone doodle and
Oh, yeah.
then a funny scene like mirroring it, and it was really like sweet and salty. It had that feel that just really was working for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
there's no question. There's just that's probably why you and I both agree this is of the four, this is our favorite.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
only the fact that you're a big comedy fan, and there's more
Yes.
comedy in this installment than any of the others combined.
Yeah.
You add the comedy of Chris Rock. I
Yeah.
mean, we already loved Leo. Leo was
Yeah.
a scream from the word go,
Yeah.
all the way back to the second one. The different roles he's played. They first meet him, he's a money launderer, and they
Yeah.
think he's pretty smart about it until they realize he's not really that smart about it. And in
Yeah.
the second one, he was a real estate agent, and he was a really shitty real estate agent,
Yeah.
only to be a private investigator in the fourth one. Of
And I know a lot
And
of people do not.
tailing terribly in that red
oh, and that
SUV.
fire engine red SUV that's enormous.
A lot of people do not like this Leo gets, and I've read and heard a lot of people saying that this was terrible and he shouldn't have been in the movie. I disagree. I really like this Leo gets. I thought it was fun. He was a little over the top, but you know what? The whole movie's over the top, and that's what makes it great.
You know what Leo would say about that? Okay, whatever.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah, I
it's
love it.
great. He did I think it was the third one when he started doing okay.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then in the fourth one, that's when he come up with whatever. Because
and
at the time this movie took place, that was such an automatic response from so many people.
yeah,
It's just a coined phrase that
Did this come out around the same times as Clueless?
yeah.
who the hell knows? But
Maybe.
you gotta love Leo. You gotta love Leo. And the character's needed because you're only going to get so much out of the interaction between Roger and Riggs. You need someone they can gang up on
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because
So
working together. I mean, there was a scene I can't remember. Was it whichever episode they had to get busted down to patrolman,
yeah,
and they're terrorizing a jaywalker.
yeah,
They go to give him a ticket for jaywalking, and one's getting angry, the other one's getting ready to shoot him. He's telling him to run, no, not that way, the other way. And they start laughing their asses off as this guy's running down the street. They play off of each other so well when they have a target.
yeah.
yeah.
And that's
Okay,
Leo.
Just to put it out there that Clueless is 1995, Lethal Weapon 4 is 1998, so that's actually perfect. Like it's from the vernacular from Clueless, basically.
Okay, well, see, that's why it became popular from that
Mhm.
movie.
Exactly.
And it lasted that long to where Leo is now using the coin phrase.
Yes, he is.
I thought that they wrote Roger a little goofy in this one. Like he almost seems a little dumb in this one, but it was fine. I mean, because they totally changed Riggs's character, so they kind of had to do the same with Murtaugh, and it worked for me. But like in that first scene when he gets, he gets into his underwear and he's acting kind of like just kind of dim-witted a little bit,
Yeah.
which isn't the character that I have grown to know, but I was fine with it. It didn't bother
Well,
me.
he had to be a little dim-witted to actually take his damn clothes off.
Right. Yeah.
Riggs needed to convince him to do so. And if
Yeah.
he had any kind of a solid state of mind, he probably would not have done it. So
Yeah. Well,
be a dimwit and take your clothes off.
he wouldn't have done it in the first three installments, is my
Oh, no,
point.
no, not at all.
Yeah.
No.
This is a different, these are two different characters. I mean, they're the same characters, but they're
They've
different.
evolved.
Or
They've
devolved.
They-
Or
they're
devolved.
they're softening in their old age.
There you go.
Absolutely.
That works. That works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go
All
ahead.
right. So Riggs and Murtaugh decide to hire Leo to follow Uncle Benny around. However, the triads make the first move. Hong contacted his uncle and told him where he was, meaning the triads now knew where they were. They come and they take the family away, and Wasinku is there with the other gang members holding Lorna and Murtaugh's family hostage. After a brief skirmish during which Wasinku dismantles Riggs's gun with a flick of his wrist, the entire family is tied up and the house is set on fire with everyone inside. Little Ping, Hong's grandchild, had hidden when the triad showed up, and now he emerges with a small pair of scissors. He's able to cut them free, and the family escapes just in the nick of time. So, Des, this is the first real good Jet Li fight scene we get in the movie, and this was Jet Li's first big American movie, and he really impressed in this, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love Jet Li in this whole movie. Every time he kills in this movie, you're going to notice he's smiling, and it's really the only time he's smiling in the movie is when he's killing.
Mhm.
So he is ruthless. He enjoys killing. Um, So I always tell people how crazy and fucking just what an asshole I am, whatever. But there's another side to me. Like I meditate for a couple hours every day, as you know, and I've got prayer beads. So I immediately noticed that he's killing people with prayer beads,
Oh
Yes, he
yeah,
is.
yeah,
which
yeah.
I thought was fucking great, man. This is an awesome weapon. And I know a lot of people didn't like this weapon choice because, he's such a lethal martial artist. So like, oh, why would he kill with prayer beads? It's like because it's fucking cool.
Because he's an assassin.
Yeah. And for all you know, you'll see him flicking the beads with his thumb. He could be like literally, these could be notches on his belt, like a
Oh,
gunfighter,
absolutely,
you
absolutely.
know?
And
Um,
I did not
yeah.
know. I'm sorry. Keep going.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I did not know that this was his first big American movie. And I
Yeah.
remember talking to you earlier today that I didn't remember him being the bad guy in any of the movies I've seen him in,
Yeah.
because he was in War with Jason Statham,
Yep.
great movie, played a good guy and a bad guy. And
Yeah.
I think you also saw the movie One,
One. Correct.
which was a great martial arts movie. It was
Hmm.
really good. Um, but here's something that I like to bring up on my podcast, connecting other actors. Mel Gibson and Jet Li will be reunited in the future in the movie The Expendables 3.
Hmm.
Yes, that is true.
Cool.
Also,
So,
there is a move in this fight where it's like a scorpion kick where his leg comes up and over,
so
and he's
good.
actually doing it for real. And you'll see this move again in the Matrix when Trinity does it, but Trinity could not do it. It's a fake leg in the Matrix because
Yeah.
she could not actually execute this kick that Jet Li can actually do.
It's
I'm not
amazing.
sure. I'm not sure anybody can do what Jet Li can do.
Yeah, he's fucking badass. So
Yeah.
I got some questions about the fighter scene. So they pull up in front of the house with the two police officers who are driving them there, and they notice there's some cars out front that they don't recognize.
Yes.
The two cops say, "All right, guys, see you later," captains, and they get out. And there's no explanation on why Riggs goes into the back door and Murtaugh goes in the front door. Like, there's no
Yeah,
exposition between the two of them, like, oh, this looks a little funny. Maybe I should go in the back door. No. Murtaugh comes in like
Also, if you think
business.
something's funny, why would you let those two cops leave?
Yeah, you wouldn't let the cops leave, one. Murtaugh wouldn't walk in the house all like, hey, I'm home, everybody. No. I just didn't understand why they went in separately and Riggs came in the back door. It didn't make sense to me.
never mind the fact that when Roger walks in, the three women are standing there like statues.
Yes.
Now, being the cop that he is, wouldn't you hesitate long enough to know something was wrong?
Yeah,
But the
but at
thing is
that
that
point,
they
it's too
knew
late.
something was wrong because Riggs went into the backyard.
Yeah.
So they both knew something was up. So why are you going to let those two cops leave? You have backup out in the yard.
Yep.
Why would you let them leave?
Yeah. It's
You
just
you clearly see something's going on. A big black SUV just peeled away from the being in front of your house, clearly holding the family,
right.
and you're housing this family illegally. You don't think something's wrong immediately, and you let those two cops leave? No.
Yeah, no. So I did love that. So you get the laser pointing on the one guy's head, and Jet Li tells the guys basically, drop your weapons, and then Riggs puts the laser on Jet Li, and Jet Li brushes it off with his hand.
Yeah.
He's so fucking cool in
Oh,
this, man.
I've seen that in so many different characters in so many different movies. I've seen it at least 3 or 4 times with the exact same thing. There's a laser sight on the shirt and the person's brushing it off.
So cool. But the way Jet Li does it's great.
Oh
So
yeah.
the fight's gonna break out. Um, it's a great fight. It's a lot of fun. Lauren, what's her name? Lauren?
Lorna.
Lorna.
Lorna. Lorna's great. She's kicking ass like she did in part three. I love this character. I love this character.
Lorna Cole
Um,
was a great addition to the cast.
Yes, she
what I
was.
love about Jet Li, so you're watching Jet Li at the stairs, watching this fight going on, and he's kind of smiling, and there's no doubt in his mind how this is going to end. Because once he gets bored of watching the fight, he just hops down and fucking and just knocks everyone out.
Well, the
Yeah, he
funny thing
dismantles
is
everybody.
he's waiting until he's needed, and
Yeah.
up until the point until I can't remember who was, either Roger or Riggs, until they got to the point where they were reaching for the now on the floor gun.
Yeah.
That was when he jumped in, because they no longer, it was no longer a fair fight. The good guys had won that fight, and he had to jump in to finish it off.
Right. So there were some funny lines that we missed that I just wanted to go back to. So when they're chasing the captain through the streets,
Mhm.
the captain's going to get killed by Jet Li on the rooftop. And this is the same captain that, was giving Riggs all he could handle and more. He
Whooped
whipped Riggs.
Riggs's ass.
Yeah, whooped his
Yes.
ass.
Yes.
And, Jet Li takes this guy out like he was a
Lincoln.
5-year-old.
Yeah.
He took
Um,
out that guy like that guy took out Riggs.
Yes.
As easily as that.
Correct. And we're going to get some great lines from Butters here, stop in Chinese, motherfucker. And I love the other one. You have the right to remain silent, so shut the fuck up.
Oh yeah.
And if you call Johnny Cochran, I'll kill you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these
Also,
are great.
when Riggs sees Jet Li for the first time, and he's like, "Is this guy appraising your furniture?"
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Enter
back
the
in
drag
back,
queen.
back when they're talking to Uncle Benny. Oh yeah.
Yeah, enter
Yeah.
the drag queen.
Into the drag queen. Really funny stuff. Yeah, it's all good. And also, I wanted to say, so I don't know if you guys remember the Rockford Files.
Oh yeah.
So Jim Rockford's house on the beach, his trailer on the beach,
Yep.
the exact same location of Riggs's.
Riggs's.
Yes.
In
So-
in what? In this movie? In the fourth
Yes.
one?
Correct.
Yes, that makes sense, because I do remember that in the Rockford Files, his trailer did have an enormous parking lot around it or near it. And
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. In this one, Riggs still has a trailer. He had a trailer on the beach in the first one.
Mhm.
Yep.
That same trailer was burned to the ground on the second one.
Yep.
I don't think I remember where he was living in the third one. I
In
don't
the
think it was.
first in the first one, they shoot the shit out of it with the military choppers, remember?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the second one, they burn it down. And then the third one,
I don't
I
think
don't-
there was ever we ever saw where he lived.
I don't know
But
if there was any mention of it.
exactly. But in the fourth one, he's back to the trailer, only this time he's got additions built onto the trailer in the
Correct.
Built an
parking lot
addition
by
onto
the
a
beach.
trailer.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so awesome.
I love it. I love it. So yeah, I
Also,
just wanted to
Yeah,
Just
just
wanted
also a little thing about Holmes. So in the first 3 movies, you get a scene in Murtaugh's bathroom. This is the only movie you do not get a scene in the bathroom.
interesting.
Yeah, they
Huh.
sing happy birthday to him. They
Yeah.
sing happy retirement to him. And then,
Yeah.
of course, the toilet bomb.
The toilet
Interesting.
bomb, of course.
So Ping scissors are not cutting these restraints.
No.
Those scissors are made for cutting Play-Doh.
Yeah. Yeah. But, you know.
Now
It is what it
they
is.
can cut construction paper.
Yeah,
and
barely.
they can. Well, you see, he had to use 2 hands just to cut through the damn duct tape.
He's not cut. I mean, maybe. I don't know. That was a very hot fire, and all those people are coming out of there with fucking fried hair. Period.
Yeah, as something.
It was
At least a lot of smoke inhalation.
it was so sad to see that house burn.
Yeah.
I mean,
Now,
that house took a beating. In the first one, it had a car go through the living room.
yes,
In the second one, he was having an addition put on,
correct.
and there were multiple dead bodies.
Yep.
Again, the third one, I think there was nothing. I don't think there was. Was the third one the toilet bomb?
No,
No,
toilet
No, the
bomb
toilet bomb
first-
was the second one.
first one. I thought.
No, it
No,
was the
second
second one.
Oh no, yeah, yeah.
That was the one with the South African.
Yeah, correct.
Mm.
I loved all of these movies for different reasons. Even the third one, which people think is the worst one, I thought the third one was very good. I mean, I enjoyed them all, but this one for me was the best. Yeah, so that was pretty much all my thoughts on the fire scene. Pretty much, I thought it was fine. I think I read somewhere that Donner, is that his name, Donner?
Donner.
Okay, he's really into James Bond, correct?
Oh, I have no idea.
No, I
'Cause
don't know either.
I think that's why we're getting these scenes where it's like instead of Jet Li just killing everybody, strangling them or shooting them. It's going to be these kind of like Batman deaths where there's a timer and he's hanging from a rope and
Yeah.
we're going to leave him here and, give him a chance to escape.
Yeah.
And you're going to get these kinds of tropes in the James Bond movies as well, where instead of just shooting James, you're going to,
Cook
set
up
up
some
this
elaborate
elaborate
thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
this
because I
elaborate-
mean, you wouldn't have a good scene. You
Right.
just shoot him dead. That's boring.
I wonder
his
if
death has to be flamboyant.
I wonder if Donner actually directed a James Bond movie.
I got a question for you, Des. You have a music background.
Yes, I do.
Did you notice the actor that looked an awful lot like Michael Anthony from Van Halen?
I didn't.
You didn't.
No.
Do you remember when they're looking to talk about who, in the beginning of the movie, they're asking a couple of detectives about someone, they'd kick some junk food if they knew who was smuggling Chinese.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
There's two cops there. One's
Yeah.
an Asian guy, and the other guy, I swear to God, could have been Michael Anthony's brother.
No, maybe like his fifth cousin on his father's side. He doesn't look anything like him.
Speaking of Van Halen, the song that is playing in the headphones of the guy with the flamethrower is
Oh,
a
yeah.
Van Halen song. It's
Oh,
just
the
a Gary
soundtrack,
Sharon era one.
The soundtrack for this movie is awesome. I
And
mean,
he's playing it on a fucking Walkman.
on a Walkman, I know it.
So good.
Even
So
by
good.
98, that was pretty old.
Yeah.
The
so good.
music for this, Des and I were talking earlier when we were working together. The music for this is so iconic.
Yeah.
Going back to the first one, you've got the same three main players for the music. David Sanborn on the sax,
Yep.
which is, I mean, you hear the notes
Yeah.
and you immediately think Lethal Weapon.
Yes.
It's so good.
And then you've got Eric Clapton and Michael Kamen, who I'm not sure did what, but I'm watching the credits because this is a kind of movie where you watch the credits because you see the scrapbook and all the photos.
Yeah.
But there's a song, the second song on the ending credits is called Pilgrim, sung by Eric Clapton. And I listened to this song twice just to listen to it a second time. It was just so good. The music is iconic with this movie.
It's a great soundtrack on top of it, not just the songs, but the actual like mood music they set it to. Really, really good. Brings you in and out of scenes and gets you feeling just the way the director wanted you to feel.
Oh yeah, those 4 or 5 notes on the saxophone by Sanborn is like, I mean, you and I were talking about it today. It's like they just key those notes at the right scene at the right time with the right expression on the actors' faces.
Absolutely.
They feather that in and it does exactly what it's supposed to do.
All right, so bring us to the highway.
So Riggs and Murtaugh take Rianne's car and go after the men that tried to kill them and their families. Finding them on the freeway, Riggs climbs out of the car and into a partial home being transported on a flatbed and grabs one of the gangsters, dragging him into the structure, while fistfighting the man demanding to know where the hongs are. Eventually, Riggs and the man fall through the plastic covering on the house and fall onto the pavement, essentially surfing on a table. Riggs holds onto the plastic and is dragged behind the building, and the gangster tumbles off only to be run over by a bus.
Nice.
The other triad attempts to run over Riggs, but Murtaugh rams him. The police backup is on the way, and the triad makes a run for it. Murtaugh chases him, including driving up a ramp and through a building, only to have a truck hit the triad and kill him. So, Pat, a bit depressing to do so much and still not really have any information about where the hongs are.
Yeah, that's true. It was a huge Hollywood scene. The surfing the table on the pavement while holding on to that plastic was awesome.
I loved it.
Um,
And breaking the legs off.
breaking the leg off the table and throwing it through the windshield of the chase car.
Yep.
But I did notice one thing, and I was laughing about this earlier. When in this scene, they go running off the edge of the highway that ends right in front of a building.
Yeah.
They go through the building, but what I noticed watching it again this afternoon, when they exit the building, the highway is going around the building.
Yeah, it's weird.
Literally, like a half cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
It's like the highway was going straight, then there's a curve, and then it's straight again. I'm like, you gotta be shitting me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
That
was
was
weird.
It's an odd design, but obviously just built up for the movie.
Absolutely. To finish off the chase scene. But what I
Yeah.
did like is when they did land, this was no A-team landing. All 4 tires of that Grand Am blew out when that
Oh,
puppy
dude,
hit ground.
it was so Dukes of Hazzard. I'm like, that car is fucking done.
Oh, absolutely. And it was done. It blew out all 4 tires. You could see
No,
the ball joints separate.
but they keep driving it. They keep the chase going. The
Yeah,
car
but
is finally
it was mostly downhill and straight.
no.
Well, it
So
was. It was. It was
so
downhill. It was straight. They had no control.
they couldn't find any place that Los Angeles wouldn't let them shoot this on the highways of Los Angeles. So they took it to Vegas. Vegas said, "Come on, make it here because you can do anything in Vegas."
Of
And
course.
just as a fun fact, so the motorcycle scene in the Matrix 2, they actually built a loop set that looked like a highway and just shot it on that for the same reason. So I thought that was pretty
That was
interesting.
the scene. Was that the highway scene where Trinity was with the keymaker?
Yes.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, that was an awesome scene.
Yeah, so that's a Hollywood set, a big loop that looks like a highway.
Though in this, it is a real highway. It is pretty much a closed highway with all stuntmen driving. So it's not like they just got on the highway and started doing this.
Yeah,
Oh, of
yeah,
course not.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. I loved the fight inside the modular home. I thought it was really clever. Thought it was fun.
Yeah.
There's nothing I didn't like about this movie, and it was also moving along very, very quickly, which I
It
enjoyed.
flies.
Oh,
It flies.
absolutely. The one thing about the highway scene when Murtaugh is trying to get the truck driver to pull over, and hey, Sully, I got some fake asshole with a badge trying to pull me over. And
Yeah,
the first time I saw this, I'm like, you fucking stupid bastard.
But how would he
yeah,
know?
Yeah,
The guy's
exactly.
driving a Grand Am and flashing a badge. Like, you can't tell if that's a real badge.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
true.
I'd be suspect
true.
too.
yeah. Same as the boat scene. Pull over, LAPD. What?
Oh.
3 guys fishing. All right, so let's move on. Get us to the dentist's office.
All right. Leo alerts them that he's tracked down Uncle Benny at the dentist, and while using Leo as a distraction to keep the dentist busy, the 3 use laughing gas to extract information from good old Uncle Benny. Here, Murtaugh inadvertently learns that Butters is Rianne's husband and the father of her baby, but puts it aside until later. In a comedic scene, Uncle Benny mentions the 4 fathers, which initially is mistaken as forefathers, F-O-R-E, as opposed to F-O-U-R.
As in ancestors.
Mm-hmm. Hong finally gets to see his uncle, only to die right in front of him. His uncle is told to get his work done, or the rest of the family is going to die as well. However, as soon as he is done, he gets killed, and so does Uncle Benny. So it's honestly amazing that the rest of the Hong family didn't get killed, because it looked like that was where it was all headed.
Wassing Koo is just he's just a bastard. I mean,
I think he got around to it. Like, it was on his to-do list to kill the rest of that family.
you
and
would
he
think that wouldn't
didn't
even
make it
be
there.
a problem for him because he was willing to set fire to a house with 2 pregnant women in it. That
And-
didn't
Right.
bother him a bit. So killing that family is like child's play to him.
Yeah. And 2 policemen and 2 pregnant women. Didn't care.
No,
Well,
In a turn of fate, a Chinese sweatshop is raided and the Hong family is found there, and they're able to, in turn, point back to the place where the fake money is being made. There, the dead bodies are found, and after some exposition, Detective Eng helps Riggs and Murtaugh figure out what is happening and where the exchange for the forefathers is taking place. So, I actually said this to Des earlier, that I read somewhere that Uncle Benny was killed because of his slip at the dentist, and I was like, I don't even think anyone knew about his slip at the dentist. I think he was just killed because he was a loose end.
a loose end.
yes.
Yeah, I would have thought
Yeah.
that too. I would have thought
I
'cause
was
Wassing
making
Koo was
that.
basically eliminating everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah,
anyone
so
that
I-
knows something is getting
Right.
eliminated.
Right.
Exactly, 100%. I was making that parallel to Goodfellas. Same thing after the heist at the airport. He's just killing everybody that was involved, and same thing's going on here. As people are no longer needed for the plan, they're just being bumped off.
Right, and that's why everyone in the Murtaugh house was set up to die because the Hongs were there. So nobody can know that the Hongs were there, so
Yeah.
they got to go.
Yeah.
The dentist scene was great. Tons of laughs, tons of fun. I loved it. I love the reveal to Murtaugh that Butters is your baby's having my baby.
Whoa,
This
baby!
Oh baby, this is all funny stuff. I love that Murtaugh punches Riggs in the face. And yeah, this is all really good stuff. And then we're going to get this great callback again. We're going to see that Murtaugh is going to find his dad's watch again.
Yeah, because he'd
And,
given it to
that's going to
Hong.
play back. And for such a silly movie, it's got some really deep, dark, and, touching moments in it that just, I thought they were great. It worked really well. It didn't feel cheap to me, like killing the puppy to try and like be like, oh, this movie's deep and it's got different layers, so we're gonna kill a puppy. No, these are just good character building moments that are like hitting the right notes.
Yeah.
Well, Roger and Hong had a bonding moment where Roger
Yes.
came home and they were drinking tequila and they were talking
Absolutely.
about their kids.
Yep.
And he gave Hong his father's watch to him. He gave
Yeah.
him his father's watch
Yep.
because he wanted a good man to have it.
Yeah.
So to have that poor man get killed and Roger finding his watch, it was really sad.
Yeah.
It was, but it was
Yeah.
also very nice. This was a pretty good screenplay. It was
Yeah,
a
well,
pretty.
here's the thing: is like you said, how do we give a crap about this Hong family in this short amount of time? Like, but you do.
You do.
You do.
Oh,
I mean, granted, you
absolutely.
don't know any of the other names. You know Ping and you know Hong, and that's it. You don't know anybody else's name. But you care about Ping, you care about Hong. When Hong gets killed, it's sad, and especially because you see how it affects Murtaugh.
Right. That's why that bonding moment between Hong and Roger over tequila was so important to the makeup of the following scenes.
Yes, absolutely.
You
Yeah.
needed to feel compassion for Hong as they're
Yes.
talking about why he came there.
Yeah.
So when
He
he's
did anything
killed,
he
you
could to give
feel
his family a better life.
yeah, exactly. Then the poor guy's killed by this bastard,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh man, that sucks.
See,
Yeah.
what I loved so much about this movie, particular too, is comparing it to a movie like Beverly Hills Cop 3, which I did make the comparison, and there is a big comparison to be made there. But that movie fell flat. It was silly, but it didn't have any characters like this. It didn't have any moments like this. It didn't have layers like this. It was a much more superficial, kind of like cookie cutter Hollywood version of this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why when you add the character Chris Rock played, it opened up the family dynamic even more.
Yeah, you're just getting some really great performances in this from some really great actors.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So Riggs, Murtaugh, and several other detectives disrupt the exchange for the forefathers and expose the fact that the money is counterfeit. As a result, the Chinese general, who is potentially being tricked, personally executes the forefathers, except for Ku's brother. Wasing Ku shoots and kills the general himself before that can happen, and a three-way gun battle breaks out between the cops, the triads, and the general's private army. During the fight, one of the triad leaders, an older brother to Wasing Ku, is killed by Murtaugh, and Butters is injured while protecting Murtaugh, but is not critical. Murtaugh passes him off to Aang to get him to safety. The climactic scene takes place on a pier where Riggs and Murtaugh, both unarmed, take on Wasing Ku, who is enraged by the death of his brother. Eventually, Murtaugh is knocked out, and Riggs and Wasing Ku fall into the water as a concrete pier begins to collapse. In desperation, Riggs finds an AK-47 and kills Wasing Ku underwater, but becomes trapped underneath the broken part of the pier. Murtaugh comes to, realizes Riggs is in the water, and dives in to free him. Murtaugh tells Riggs that he could hear Riggs willing him to save him. So I said this to Des earlier, but Pat, I'm going to bring it to you. Riggs and Murtaugh could not have beat Wasing Ku. I'm sorry.
You know what?
He couldn't have.
But as the fight progressed, there is a dark moment, and I wasn't seeing it. I didn't see it coming the first time I watched this movie. When Roger rams that piece of wrought iron through Wasing Ku's midsection and right out the back. From that point on, they had the opportunity. Even after Roger gets knocked out, Riggs is holding both ends of that and lifting that little bastard up off the ground.
Yeah.
With that.
Yeah, no doubt. That is definitely a turning point, but I just feel like they would never even gotten there.
But here's the thing, okay? If Roger is knocked out for even 10 more seconds, Riggs is dead because he has now lost consciousness. He's Jet Li is just about to kill Riggs. I mean, and after he kills Riggs, he's going to go over and finish the job on Roger.
Oh yeah.
So in my mind, he has defeated both of these guys. It's just by a miracle that Roger wakes up just in time to kill him or to ram the rod through him.
Yeah.
But going back to the shootout, so I did kind of had a problem with the general's character. So I feel like this is a fucking general. Okay. He probably should have been a little better prepared. He's taken out by like 5 cops and like a hood gang. It's like this is a general with his fucking like special forces guys. Like, no way, man. In real life, this guy's got the situation handled, and everybody there is
Dead.
fucking
Dead.
being killed.
Dead.
Yeah, they have snipers up in the rafters
Everything.
and stuff. Yeah.
Everything. They've
Yeah.
probably got the place wired with, explosives.
C4, yeah.
Yeah, they're fucking that general's fucking cleaning house. But I was fine with it again. It's not about that. It's fine.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, this is not that movie, right?
No.
I loved how smug Riggs and Murtaugh were when he gets out of the car and explains how
So good.
the money was counterfeit. But just
So
the entire flamboyant actions he was just so happy with himself.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It was awesome. And when
Yeah.
they both look over at Wasinku and we fucked you. We fucked you.
So good.
Yeah.
So Riggs kills Jet Li underwater with the assault rifle.
Yes.
Yes.
Assault rifle will not fire underwater because
How do you know that?
Because it's a fact. It needs a spark to fire, and it
No.
wouldn't fire.
No, it
underwater.
doesn't. No, it
does.
doesn't.
Honey, Google it. Will an assault rifle fire underwater?
Okay, I'll Google it. But I just want to say that Wasinku snapped Hong's neck literally in the blink of an eye, and you tell me he has to like squeeze Riggs's neck for like 30 minutes to get him to kill him?
Riggs
Never
has a-
mind the fact that when Wasinku killed Hong's uncle, he was holding him by the throat.
Yes.
I don't care how good you are. There's no way he's snapping that guy's neck, holding his neck
He
like
crushed
that.
his windpipe.
That he could have done, but he did. There's no way he's snapping his neck, holding his windpipe like that. That's just not fucking possible.
Yeah, no, that weapon will not fire underwater.
Oh, and it's firing it. I'm watching a video of somebody firing an AK-47 underwater.
Okay, now let me say something to you, Des, so you understand this. The spark you're talking about comes from the primer in the shell the bullet is loaded into. That primer, all it needs, that's why zip guns were made. All you need is something hard enough and sharp enough to ignite that primer cap. The primer cap ignites the gunpowder explodes, forcing the bullet out of the shell.
Interesting.
Okay, so, and there are, what was it? What movie
I mean,
was
it's
it?
not ideal. It's water is denser
No, of
than
course
air,
not.
so
But
the
it,
bullet is very
but it
fast
can happen.
because it
And
does fire.
and like in the movie U.S. Marshals with Tommy Lee Jones, he has a scene with him and Robert Downey Jr. They're talking about the Glock weapon and how it shoots anything. It you can drop it in sand, you can drop it in water, and it'll still fire.
Right, great weapon.
It is a great weapon. But actually, I think I heard a podcast. I think I was looking for one. I can't remember when, where. Somebody was talking about that very fact about the there's no way that AK-47 would fire underwater. I have some firearms history, and it is
shooting your stove in your kitchen.
I did not shoot my stove. Somebody living with me did. And
Can you believe that?
And thank the day.
I can.
Okay, do you want me to go into the story? No?
Let's hear it. True story.
Okay. When I got out of the Navy, I had a weapon, a 1911 9mm. And I was taking it to work. I was working in Brockton. I didn't feel safe.
Don't say who shot it.
And I'm not going to. But anyone with firearms training, if you're going to have a firearm for safety and home security, the weapon is loaded, the weapon has a round chambered, and the safety is on. That way, all you've got to do is click off the safety, pull the trigger, and the home intruder's dead. Somebody I was living with was on the phone in the kitchen, and me being an idiot, did not secure the weapon when I got home. And this person is on the phone talking to his friend, and he's playing with it, and without realizing that it's loaded and there's a round chambered, pulls the trigger and kills my stove.
Oh God, I love
And
it.
the full glass front shatters into 1,000 pieces, and there's now a 9mm bullet hole in the steel that went through the door, out the other side of it, and lodged itself in the back of the stove.
Oh.
Honey, did you do that?
No, it wasn't me. It
Are you
wasn't me.
sure?
I'm sure. It's so funny
Though
though,
you're laughing so hard, it sounds like you were there.
because it's
No,
just so funny.
he's heard this more than once, but he's never heard the detail.
Because the listeners just have to imagine this is a guy that starts off every podcast with "I'm so high, I'm so very high." He's got like a 9mm with one chambered.
Well, I knew it. I just didn't
Oh,
realize that person
st-
didn't.
and they killed their stove.
Killed my stove. Thankfully, we didn't use a stove very often, and it wasn't a gas stove.
Oh my God.
Oh, imagine that.
Imagine that. No, it was an electric stove.
Oh, imagine if it had been a gas stove. That would have been something.
Needless to say, that weapon was never seen out in the open again.
Oh God. Do you still have it?
Oh, God, no.
Oh, I would buy it from you.
No, you wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't.
So I have a replica Sig Sauer 9mm. I mean, this thing is beautiful. It's made out of metal. It's got the blowback on it, so when it fires, it actually does the blowback on top.
Yeah, it
It's
probably
got
has a short firing pin that doesn't allow it to function.
it has the clip that comes out the bottom like a real magazine. It holds 36 shots, and it's CO2. And it'll fire 36 shots as fast as you can pull the trigger. I've got these like Cobra head fucking pellets for it. Thing's fucking awesome, man. You pull it, the blowback goes. This thing is badass. I mean, I shoot an intruder in the face 36 times with that. They're gonna at least go outside and consider what's going on.
At one point, I had a firearms permit
Mm-hmm.
for target and hunting,
Nice.
and I bought the same kind of gun that Riggs uses. It's a
Yeah.
Beretta 92F,
Nice.
and that is out of the box. You'd think I was a fantastic marksman because this thing was so accurate right out of the box with stock sights. But it's an awesome weapon. And one of the things that I liked about in this movie, there were two references to that weapon. The first one, when Riggs and Murtaugh fight Wasenku in Roger's house,
Yep.
they get the upper hand and they're both pointing their weapon at his head, and he kicks Roger's weapon out of his hand, and prior to that kick, he put his hand on the top of Riggs's 9mm. He then kicks Roger's gun out and then completely dismantles the slide from Riggs's gun.
Would that work?
Yes. And the reason I bring this up is because the whole reason that they're now going to fight Wasenku at the end of the movie, they're both getting ready to walk away. Roger's telling him he's not worth dying over. You're going to be a father. I'm going to be a grandfather. He's not worth dying over. And Riggs reluctantly is like, yeah, you're right. And they start to walk away. But you can see, again, with the expressions and in the face of Mel Gibson, how well he did this. You could see the turmoil. He
But how did he
doesn't
do
want to walk away. And
Yeah.
he brings up, how did he do that? How did he take that gun apart? How did he do that? And which, of course, now convinces Roger to go on for the fight. But this all being said, it can be done.
Hmm.
The slide is held on to the frame of that weapon by one switch that, if you rotate, disengages the lock, and the slide slides right off the front of the weapon, exactly the way Jet Li did it in this movie. And
Cool.
all it takes is his thumb to switch down while he's kicking Roger to pull the slide right off of that frame.
It was a great scene.
It was a great scene, but it was a great callback at the end of the movie. It convinces now Roger and Riggs, they're getting ready to walk away from the fight. They don't want to die. This guy's going to kick their ass because he's looking pretty fucking pissed off, only to turn around because they got to find out how he did that to
Now,
Riggs's gun.
I don't think that they really had the option, to be honest with you. I took a look at Jet Li at that moment, standing over his dead
Oh,
brother.
when he's standing at the end of the pier
Yeah.
as they're making their decision to go back and fight him, he was ready to kill them.
Yeah, they weren't going anywhere. I feel like Jet Li was going to go after them regardless. This
Oh,
fight
no
was
question.
happening. This fight was happening.
No
Yeah.
question.
All right, let's wrap it up, baby. Give us the last scene.
All right, Lorna's baby is on the way and she refuses to give birth until she and Riggs get married. Leo gets them a rabbi to say some words to put her at ease until they can get married for real. At the same time, Rianne is having her baby and the remaining Hong family is granted asylum. The movie ends with our extended family all together taking a photo to save the memory. The end.
Okay, so before that happens, we're gonna get Riggs at the
Cemetery.
and
Oh yeah,
talking to his
this
dead
is an
wife.
important scene.
Yes, talking to his dead wife and saying, I love
Lorna.
Lorna, and she's looking for a sign, and the sign's gonna come. The sign's gonna come in the form of
Leo.
Leo.
And
Yep.
his story about Froggy.
And
Story about Froggy.
it's a great story, and it's delivered. And because Leo is such a goofy character, you forget that this is being played by Joe Pesci, and this guy is a fucking amazing dramatic actor.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And he pulls one out for the ages at the end of this. Like, he goes for it.
Yeah.
Because I'm sad. I'm choked up. I've seen this 1,000 times and I've got a tear in my eye. And he's talking about a fucking frog he was kissing that he was hoping was going to turn into a princess. But you can imagine it. He spins this tale so well when he runs it over with a tire and kills it. I'm like, oh no, not Froggy. Not Froggy.
Well,
You know?
this is such an important scene because it's Riggs is talking to his wife, his dead wife, and he's having issues because he really wants to marry Lorna,
Yep.
and they want to get married, but he's still having problems because of her death, and he's just hesitant. And Leo is following him, trying to perfect his PI skills.
Yep.
And he gets into the story about Froggy because he sees or hears, I think, the turmoil that
does.
Riggs is going through. So he tells him the story about Froggy and how Froggy died and it was devastating. And then he meets Riggs. He meets Riggs and he meets Roger. And they looked after him more than they should have, which they did.
Yes.
But they still treated him like crap. But he had to make Riggs understand that his friends weren't better than Froggy. They were just different.
Right.
And that line itself is so important because that's when Mel Gibson, you can see the recognition in his face. He's like, holy shit. It's not, it's
You're not replacing
just
Victoria.
different
It's
love.
just different.
And
Right.
he also, I think, is seeing this almost like a sign from his dead wife because he's connecting with Leo on a level he never has before. And he's seeing the
Right.
side of Leo he never has before.
Right.
Yeah.
And what he says makes sense. And
Yes.
Riggs understands exactly where he's coming from telling him this.
And I
Yeah.
feel that at this moment, Riggs gets a little more respect and a little more love for Leo. And I feel like this moment they connect on a deeper level. And from this moment on, they'll be closer.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, and that's proved evident because when Lorna is going into the delivery room and Leo and Martin are following her in and Leo has to stay outside, he's so sad. He feels left out again.
Yeah.
You can see his head is down.
Yes.
He's kind of pouting. And then Riggs comes back out and thanks him and gives him a hug and pats
Yeah.
him on the back and says, stick around, see the kid. His entire demeanor just totally flip-flops.
Yeah,
Now
it's nice.
he's happy, he's thrilled because now he realizes he's part of the family now.
Yep.
And it's only, and that's even confirmed when they're getting ready to take the picture. The captain shows up, and this actor, I think his name was Steve Cahan, or something like that. I can't remember. Captain Murphy.
Yeah.
He's been with them since the very beginning of this franchise, and it's great to see him at the end. And at the very end, they're taking the family photo. You've got Rianne and Butters, the kids, Riggs, Lorna, and the chief. They're saying, "Chief, get in the picture," because he is family now. And then
Yeah.
when Leo finally says, "Hey," they tell Leo, "Hey, get this guy to take the picture. Get in the picture." I'm actually, the movie was playing as I'm doing this podcast like I like to do, and I paused it right when that picture was taken. and Leo is just beside himself with happiness.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah.
he's part of this family now.
it's nice. It's a nice ending.
It's a nice closing.
I liked it. I liked the ending a lot. Did either of you guys recognize the rabbi?
I did recognize him. I just couldn't remember his name.
He's Fletch's boss.
Fletch's boss.
Yes,
That's
it's
it. I
And
couldn't remember.
the guy from the hallway with the pea container, he's also in Fletch.
He is also in Fletch.
It's like a
Oh,
little
when
Fletch reunion.
his scream when Leo grabs his urine cup.
I loved it.
You know,
It took me all
took me
day.
all day to fill that, you little son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
that was so funny.
All right, so that will wrap it up. Now, before I get the rewatch scores from you guys, we are going to do a new segment, and it's called Welcome to the Recasting Couch, where
Nice.
each host will recast one character of their choice from the movie. And we are going to start with me. 'cause
Wait a
it's my
second before you do it.
Yes.
What are our rules here? Like, can it be like, could I pick somebody that's like, hot and fresh right now and just magically
No
put them in the
rules.
movie?
There's no rules. You just got to take one actor from the movie and recast them.
Okay.
Okay, so for myself, I will be recasting Martin Riggs today. And I will be removing Mel Gibson and I will be replacing him with one Kurt Russell. What do you guys think?
I think Kurt Russell would be a perfect match because of the hair. The first 3 movies, because if I remember right, you guys are going to be doing Big Trouble in Little China.
Yep. And
Yes.
he's got
And
the
I am-
hockey hair.
I've seen that movie. I enjoy that movie very much when I've seen it. And he has the same full, luxurious head of hair that Martin Riggs had.
I
Mhm.
think it would work. I think it would be a downgrade, but it would work.
Yes. I think the acting quality would definitely be stepped down with Kurt Russell.
See, I don't know if the acting quality would be stepped down, but I think that the crazy and the masculinity would be tempered a little bit. I don't think Kurt Russell is quite as imposing as Mel Gibson. And for that reason, I think it would be a step down. But I think that Kurt Russell is every bit the actor that Mel Gibson
Oh,
is.
yes. I agree.
I think
So-
Mel Gibson had, like in the first movie, when he was getting ready to pull the trigger and kill himself, Mel Gibson has the crazy eyes.
Yeah.
He could do the crazy eyes. I don't think Kurt Russell could do the crazy
I don't think
eyes.
Kurt Russell would work in either of the other 3. This is specifically for this movie.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Okay, Delyn, who are you going to be replacing?
I'm gonna recast Butters.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna take an in his prime Eddie Murphy. In his
Yeah.
prime.
I had a feeling somebody was going to do that when I heard.
I mean,
we
because
were
it
gonna be
makes
doing
sense, right? Like
Yes.
I
in
like
his
it.
prime, Eddie Murphy, not Eddie Murphy of 1998,
Yeah.
but in his prime, Eddie Murphy, like
Beverly
perfect.
Hills Cop, Eddie
No,
Murphy.
Yeah.
we're talking Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood Saturday Night Live. Skinny,
Oh.
young
Yes.
Eddie Murphy.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good. And
I had
that
a
may-
feeling somebody was going to do that.
yeah, that could even.
Tay.
I'm just glad you didn't go with Chris Tucker. So good.
No Chris Tucker.
Yeah. So far, I like your recasting the best. And Pat, who are you going to be recasting this week?
When I heard this, I had to put some thought into it, and I think I do have a good one. I would
Okay.
replace Danny Glover
Mhm.
with Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
I like that.
That's great. I'll tell you what, I think this movie works with a young Eddie Murphy, a Samuel L. Jackson, and a Kurt Russell. I think we've still got a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
I like it.
I think that in order, I think mine was the weakest. I think that Pat and Delyn, I think you guys both nailed it. I think that this is a great movie with Samuel L. Jackson and fucking Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
What
I can see it.
let's just break this down just a little bit. What era Samuel L. are we talking about? Are we talking Pulp Fiction? Are we
We're talking
talking
Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be a young Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, not too young though. Not
No,
too
No,
young.
no.
I mean, you don't want him to
You
be
don't
Nick
wanna
Fury
go-
age, but
Yeah, you don't want to go the Nick Fury era
Yeah.
Right.
because he's got some years on him in there. But
Yeah, that's why I said Pulp Fiction is perfect.
yeah.
Pulp Fiction is perfect. And my Kurt Russell would be Snake Plissken Kurt Russell.
Ugh, That's might be the best Kurt Russell.
Yeah. So
Wasn't that Escape from L.A.?
yes,
I thought
Yes.
so.
correct.
Yes.
Escape from New York,
Escape from New York, yeah.
first one.
I
Did they do
bet
Escape from LA was the second one.
Yeah, I mean he did them both, but I'm thinking the first
this
one.
was and this was around probably the same era and time frame that they did Big Trouble in Little China because he still had that fucking hair.
Correct.
I mean, he's
correct.
had that hair quite a bit. He
He's
had that hair in
he's had that
Overboard. He had that
lion's
hair
mane.
in
Yeah,
The
it's a
Thing.
lion's mane haircut.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So Pat, what is your rewatch score for Lethal Weapon 4?
Oh, this is a 5 all day.
Okay, yeah, it's a 5 for me too. Dylan, what is your score?
I gotta give it a 5. I have to,
Okay.
even though this is not like my favorite kind of movie. It's great. It's a ton of fun. It's a great popcorn movie. It's a great action movie. If you don't look at the fact that it's policemen acting poorly, it's a really great movie.
And did it pass your phone test?
All but for one scene, I did find myself looking at my phone at like during the part when Lorna and Riggs were talking about Butters, but other than that, it passed my.
Oh,
See, I
what?
love
I
When
actually
they
found myself sitting on the edge of my seat at one point. So
I fucking loved
when they
the
were
scene.
walking on the
on the
beach.
beach.
Yeah.
So funny.
Oh,
so
that
funny.
was oh, he
Oh.
was when
I'm drooling here. I'm
oh,
drooling here.
exactly. And how pissed off she got at herself for letting it slip.
So
That was
good.
so fucking funny.
So fucking funny. One of the best scenes in the movie. I absolutely loved it. All
well,
right.
that's where your Himalayas come from.
yeah.
So
And
yeah.
I love it. She hands him a plate of donuts. I got you some donuts. Ah, police food.
Police food. All right. So this is an easy one to score. It's a 5. It's a perfect movie. If you haven't seen Lethal Weapon 4, what are you doing? Go see it. It's a great movie. We'll be back next week with Tony again, finally, and we'll be doing Big Trouble in Little China, a movie I have not seen. I thought I had seen it. I watched the trailer for it, and it looks like Mortal Kombat to me. I don't know.
There's a
But
lot of
I'm
love like
excited
that.
to watch it. I'm
Yeah,
excited to watch
and
it.
I am really looking forward to listening to the podcast.
I
'cause
mean,
like I
it's
said, I've
campy.
seen
You have
this.
to just know it's campy
It
and
is.
not,
It
and
is.
and you can't expect this like it's not Shakespeare.
And
you know?
Dylan, you've seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
And Pat, you've seen it?
I have seen it. And the fact that there's a lot of Chinese magic,
Mhm.
you can't take this movie with anything but a grain of salt.
Well, I'm looking forward to watching it.
Oh, I think you're going to love it.
As always, I love watching movies from opposite ends of the house with you, Dylan. That one time we watched it together was strange. I don't want to do that again.
Yes, you did make comment of how uncomfortable it was.
Great, great podcast today. Came with a lot of knowledge.
It's got to be the coffee.
Yeah, I knew this one was going to be great. I knew we were going to have a lot of fun breaking this one down. I do want to apologize for the horrible audio on the last podio. Yeah, it wasn't audio.
Audio and patio?
Yeah, on the last
Okay,
podcast.
hey, there's a new word.
I worked for 10 hours just to get it to sound as good as it did. And I tried to listen to it at work today, and it was really unlistenable. I mean, between my mic being so loud and Mickey's mic being literally, you couldn't even hear her. It was not enjoyable. And I shut it off after about a half an hour. And I did consider not posting anything that week, but I didn't want to do that. I figured I'd put something out. And if you guys wanted to try and listen to it, you could. And, yeah, so I'm hoping this one sounds better and they all sound better going forward. We're taking steps to make sure that never happens again. Yeah, so that's it. Dylan, tell the listeners where they can find us. And if you are
All
listening to
right.
this on Spotify or Google Podcasts, give us a 5-star review and leave a review. It helps the podcast grow. I don't know why, but it just does. It just gets us seen by more people. So please do that.
Yeah,
And
because
another
when
note-
people leave those things, it shows up on other people's, maybe you'd like this list kind of
Yes.
thing, you know?
Yes.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so you can find us at Hey, Did You Ever See That Movie on Facebook? Hey, did you ever see that movie on Instagram? Hey, did you ever see that movie on Twitter? And if you'd like to email us, it is Hey, Did You Ever See That Movie at gmail.com.
Okay, and we will be taking requests. Again, if it's a movie that we feel like we want to watch, we'll do it. We'll give you a shout out. And yeah, take advantage of that while you still can. And that's it. So until next time, I have one question for you. Hey, did you ever see that movie? See you later.
Bye.
Goodbye, lassie. Goodbye, laddie. That is going to be so awesome.